Out the ball goes to Bernardo Silva, and what's he gonna do? Just try and guess. Just try and guess. Oh, yeah, he's gonna cut it back onto his left foot and play it to Mateo Kovacic. Manchester City and Arsenal played out a really fantastic game, but let's break down how all of this happened on a tactical level. Welcome to Campfire Football. I'm Sebastian North. All right, let's not waste any time and start with the first goal of the match. Man City getting the ball going on a free kick. They play the ball out to Walker. He looks forward and plays it down the line to Savinho. Now, Calafiori makes a huge mistake. He goes and just dives in, gets way too close. Savinho skins him on the inside. Then we have the second issue, and I think Thomas Partey here is very, very guilty. In my opinion, he should go and press the ball, and if it goes out to Bernardo Silva, that's okay. Gabriel is there. But instead, watch what Thomas Partey does. He runs away, turns his back, and allows Savinho to cut inside and have more space to run. Jurrien Timber is way out here on the right. He needs to come across to allow Saliba to close the gap, but there's just a huge space between him and Gabriel, and the ball is just going to go right in between them. Haaland gets it, tucks it home, and it's 1-0 City. So the lead wouldn't last long. Here's Thomas Partey getting the ball, getting fouled right in the midfield, and Michael Oliver would go ahead and have a chat with Walker and Saka. Now, after they start to run away, you can see Walker here jogging away, tells everyone pay attention, keep an eye out, and here he points at the ball because the ball, you can see, is on this line at the base of the circle, which it shouldn't be. It should be a few yards further back. Now, if we take a look here at Michael Oliver, he's starting to walk. Walker's coming back. Meanwhile, Gabriel is wide open on the far side, and Thomas Partey sees him. He is just ready for the whistle. The whistle goes into Michael Oliver's mouth, and Thomas Partey's already ready. As soon as it blows, boom, the ball is hit. Walker's basically complaining that he doesn't have enough time to get back, but it doesn't matter. The ball goes through. Gabriel Martinelli turns back, looks for Calafiori, and this is quite interesting because the ball is literally going right to Michael Oliver's feet. So Calafiori has to figure out how he's going to hit this correctly, realizes, okay, the ref's moving out of the way. Here's my angle, and hits an absolute blinder into the top corner. It was a sensational goal, but then Arsenal would show us how good they are on set pieces. So first thing, Man City, what on earth are you doing having Jeremy Doku marking Gabriel? That makes no sense. Also, here's the way that Arsenal like to set up their corner kicks. 4 guys on the back post in a line, and then 1 more at the base of the 6. Now, what they're all going to do is start to run across. As you can see, the ball's about to get hit by Saka. He raises his hand, and they start to move. All the guys at the back post start to run across. Saliba and Martinelli go behind Ederson. The other two sort of run across the 6-yard box, and at that same time, Gabriel is going to overlap them to the back. Doku completely lets him go. Again, I don't know why he was marking him, but this is the space for Gabriel to get a big, strong run, and here he turns his head and heads it wide somehow. It's incredible. Here we go again. This time, City decided to make a change. They put Walker on Gabriel, and watch this little touch. This is hilarious. Touch, take that. I don't know what Walker's really doing. Really what he needs to focus on is running with Gabriel. Arsenal have the exact same setup at the back post. You see Martinelli and Saliba here go behind Ederson. Once again, 2 more guys run, and they do the same thing. Walker, I don't know how, he just gets done by the exact same run by Gabriel. The delivery from Saka is absolutely perfect. Gabriel this time jumps up, is able to put the ball on target, and puts it in. All right, so after that, Trossard would get 2 yellows in quick succession. The first for a shirt tug, the second for kicking the ball away. And so Arsenal were down to 10 men for the entire second half. And Mikel Arteta set them up in basically a 5-4 formation to just protect their box. Arsenal did very well defensively, but I think Man City really played into their hands by not doing a lot of the right things and by just making it easier. Here is something they should have done a lot more. Ball goes from Walker out to Savinho, and the run from Bernardo Silva, this is when we see Kevin De Bruyne do a lot, just right off the back of the fullback into the channel, and you can get it immediately. Now, when you do this, you force the Arsenal players to start running backwards, which they spent most of the half facing Man City players and slowing them down. Here, they're running backwards, meaning they can't track the guys behind them. No one sees Mateo Kovacic. The ball gets pulled back, and, well, this is not the guy you want in this position, so he just blasts it over. But ideally, that's the kind of runs and ball movement that Man City would have wanted to do. And basically, that was the last time we saw that. Now, Man City had inverted wingers, meaning they had a left-footed winger on the right and a right-footed winger on the left. I think if they had switched that and attacked the byline more, they would have had more success. And also, their wingers were not getting the ball much. Here, Doku just decides, well, I'm going to come inside. If no no one's going to pass me the ball. And so look, you have absolutely no width, none whatsoever, and you've just got a bunch of guys playing short passes really around the top of your box. Kovacic, Ruben Diaz, Kyle Walker, Manuel Akanji, they were getting so many touches on the ball and not really having anywhere to go. Again, there is no width. Doku should be pulled way out here to see if he can get the ball. But also, Arsenal were very comfortable. You can see them here in what is basically a 6-3 formation, and Diaz is just standing on the ball. Like, this does not help anybody. If you want to get through an obstinate defense like this, you have to move them around. You have to move the ball, and you should probably go side to side. But instead, it's all of these quick short passes here. Out it goes to Bernardo Silva. Savinho actually does make this little run right here, but Bernardo Silva did the same thing every time he got the ball. Cut back onto the left and go back to the middle. Once again, you want to see how slow Diaz was on the ball? Look at this. He's just standing there, and Arsenal are comfortable. Once again, they've got their back six with three in front, and they're just basically saying to City, go side to side if you can, or you guys have the ball because we're not really worried about you. Out it goes to Akanji. This ball into Doku is what should happen. But Doku, he's not wide enough. He's not isolating himself out against Timber. So when he drops like this, it's much harder for him to actually beat Timber down the side. If he's wider, he can run at him and go either way. But right now, Timber is actually the one in control. So Doku, what does he do? Cuts inside, takes way too big a touch right there, and Akanji gets it back, and the width just disappeared again. The fact that the wingers kept cutting inside was a real problem for City. So here's another example of the runs being poor. Here's Savinho bringing the ball forward, and there's one obvious place for Bernardo Silva to go, and that is to continue to run off the back of Calafiori and to just go down the channel and receive the ball there, just like he did earlier. But instead, look at this movement he makes. He just decides to run back or in. He almost gets in Savinho's way, and the ball has to go back to Walker. Savinho runs inside, back it goes to Bernardo Silva, and just watch how predictable this is from him. He's going to try and size up Martinelli, comes in, cuts back, plays it back to Kovacic. Kovacic is not the guy who you're going to want to have score. Neither's really Ruben Diaz. So this is exactly what Arsenal want as the guys trying to pick apart the play at the top of the penalty area. Once again, out to Bernardo Silva. What's he going to do? Well, he's not going to take the ball down the line and cross his right foot. He's going to cut back again right here, chops it, cuts again, and he keeps doing this back on his left foot. It was so predictable. So one of the issues that I had watching City was that they refused to do these basic, simple things. And when you take players on down the line, go all the way to the end line and cross it, you're going to get corners. And what happens when you get corners and set pieces is that the defensive team loses that shape that they want. They have to collapse and get in the box, and so second phases are far more dangerous. Here are a couple examples. They like to go short on their corners. It's a very good way to get one Arsenal player out of the box. Here the ball goes to Walker after a little 2v1. He crosses, and you can see Erling Haaland at the back post, somewhat free. He's able to get a header. Raya makes a good save, but now the ball is bouncing around in the 6-yard box. It gets to Bernardo Silva, and he just skies his shot. So here's another one, but from the other side. Gundogan takes it. Doku's nearby. It forces one Arsenal player to come out and defend as opposed to all of them being in the box. Gundogan gets himself onside. Doku plays it back, and now the ball can go in. So Gundogan crosses. Arsenal win the first ball, but now you've just got chaos in the box. Arsenal are just going to try and do anything they can to clear their lines or win the ball. It bounces around, and Gvardiol is able to get a shot off. Good save by Raya. But really, City would have almost no corners again until the end of the match because they just were not doing the things that would get them in those positions. So now there were a few changes. Doku came off for Phil Foden, and now Savinho would be out on the left-hand side. You can see him here in your picture, and Akanji plays him the ball. But Savinho, not being brave enough and trying to take on Timber, he does this weird thing where he just does a bunch of little steps, and now he's basically taken away his option to take him on. So Timber's like, good, we know, and every Arsenal player knows now where the ball's going to go. It's just back to Akanji. You don't have to worry too much about him. Once again, Arsenal have got their 6-3 formation here, being very good about following the ball around. Out the ball goes to Bernardo Silva, and what's he going to do? Just try and guess. Just try and guess. Oh, yeah, he's going to cut it back onto his left foot and play it to Mateo Kovacic. Kovacic gets the ball, drops it. Diaz tries to hit a one-touch shot. If you take a look at who had the most touches, shots, and passes, it's Kovacic and the back line. Kovacic had 92 touches. Akanji had 118. Walker had 125. And then Gvardiol only had 52. They very rarely went to him on the left-hand side. And for comparison, Gundogan and Bernardo Silva had 61 and 57 touches. That is just not enough for the midfielders. On top of that, the shot count. Kovacic had 4. Gvardiol had 2. Ruben Diaz had 5. Akanji had 2. And Walker had 4. So 15 shots from your defensive midfielder and your back line. Meanwhile, Gundogan and Bernardo Silva only had 3 shots combined. So it tells you who was on the ball for City, and it's not the players that they would have wanted. Credit to Arsenal for that. All right, so the major substitutions. John Stones would come on for Kyle Walker, and Jack Grealish would come on for Savinho. They would be the ones that would make the biggest difference at the end. So Grealish comes on the field, and ideally you'd want to get your winger a touch, right? Gvardiol opens up, looks at him, decides no. And I'm really not sure why. Grealish is the player who's far and away the most isolated on the pitch. Everyone else is surrounded, but Gvardiol decides, nope, we're going to go back across. So Akanji's got it, drops it into Gundogan. Gundogan goes to Kovacic, and once again, it's going to go to Gvardiol. He looks up, once again, this Arsenal back line. They have everything essentially cut off. But the biggest space between Arsenal players is this one right here, which means that Timber is actually the most isolated. I don't think a through ball is what will do it, but I think if Grealish is a little further out, he can receive it and go 1v1. Instead, it's all so tight that City decide just go the other way. So back it goes to Kovacic. He looks up, tries to play it out. It goes to Gundogan, Akanji, back to Kovacic. What's he gonna do? Well, the only thing he can. Back to Gvardiol. He looks up, and he does not go to Grealish again. This time it's into Foden, back to him, and he goes back across. So Grealish wasn't getting much of the ball. Here he finally gets some touches, and instead of just taking the ball down line, he dribbles inside, gives it away, and stays there. Look at how narrow Man City are here, and this just solves all the problems for Arsenal. If you're Arsenal, this is exactly what you want. Timber doesn't have to worry about anyone behind him, so he can just help tuck in here, and everyone else just has to do their job of shifting and moving across, and just making sure that no one has an obvious place to get the ball. Grealish has now ended up as the left winger way out here. Akanji goes to Bernardo Silva. What do you think he's going to do? Oh, yeah, of course. He's going to cut it back again. So he pulls the ball back to Ruben Diaz, who takes a look up. And once again, they're just shifting the ball. No one has any real option, and they're all taking 3 or 4 touches looking for the next thing to do. In the end, it goes to Akanji, and this is just a terrible cross. So Man City, this was their problem all game long. It felt like you were watching just the same 5 minutes for 40, basically. Ruben Diaz plays with Gvardiol. He looks up. Here's Grealish. He should be wider, because if he receives this ball, yes, it's fine, but he's not going to take on Timber. If he's wider, he can maybe size him up and go 1v1. Gvardiol takes a look up and passes the ball away. Now Grealish is chirping Gvardiol's ear. Watch what Gvardiol does here. Basically tells him, dude, you are not in the right place. You need to be higher, maybe wider. I'm not sure exactly what he's telling him, but basically he's telling him he's not in the right spot. Anyway, the ball goes out to Bernardo Silva. What does he do? Of course, cuts it back, plays it back to Akanji, and then once again, we have the scenario where Kovacic is at the top of the box with the ball, but he is confronted immediately by Partey. Arsenal have their bank of 3 and then their bank of 6, and they are just comfortable. And at this point, Arsenal could really smell the finish line. They probably thought they were about to get there. Ball goes to Grealish. That's not what a left winger is. That's not where he should be at all. So there's nowhere to go. He chops back and forth and back and forth. It goes out to Akanji. It comes back to Kovacic again, and it's the same picture as we just saw a few seconds ago. The 3, the back 6. Now Gvardiol is taking up this wide position. Out it goes again to Akanji. Doesn't know what to do. I mean, this is just constant from City. They just had no answers, no ideas. And at this point, you really felt like Arsenal were going to make it. Here's Diaz once again needing to take a shot. It's blocked, and the ball ends up in Raya's hands. And finally, City would get the equalizer. And what do you know? It's from the first time that someone actually takes on a player in the wide areas and goes to the end line. So Akanji gets the ball, plays it into Diaz. He wastes no time and gets it out to Grealish. Now watch what Grealish does here. Because his position is out wide enough, he is able to face inside at Ben White, which means he can either cut inside if he wants and cut back, or he can take him down to the line. This is the crucial detail, because this space between Arsenal's defenders here was open. It's just that no one for City put themselves in this position on the wing to be able to do this. Jack Grealish is very clever. He goes around Ben White. This is where you want Arsenal running back towards their own goal, and anything can happen. You flash a ball across the box here, you could get an own goal, someone gets a tap in. Arsenal are able to clear this one, and look how stoked they were about it. Watch this. You got all these guys just celebrating. Yes, we're gonna make it. But there is a corner, and as I said, Man City were dangerous from corners, the very few that they had. Grealish goes short, plays it to Gundogan, who gives it back to him, and now Arsenal Arsenal are super deep. The whole team is basically as far back as basically the 6-yard box. And now Kovacic, he's not at the top of the box or outside anymore. He is in the penalty area. Grealish does exactly the right thing to make sure everyone tucks back, plays Kovacic. Finally, his shot is on target. It hits a mass of people, falls down, and Stones tucks it home. I think a draw in the end is a fair result because Arsenal did everything they could to just bunker in throughout the second half, and that's a very fair tactic on their part. The thing is, a lot of people said that this Arsenal defense was like a masterclass, and I understand the perspective, but really, City were just so poor in attack, and were doing things that don't make sense. For so much of the game, they were just so narrow, and the wrong players were on the ball, and the wrong players were taking shots. Once they did a couple of the right things, they were able to score. Who knows if they had done that from earlier in the match. Either way, thanks for hanging out for this tactical breakdown. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Sebastian North. This is Campfire Football. Take it easy.